Welcome to Humbly the Best Celtics podcast. I'm your host, Brandon, here with Mike and Joel, three diehard fans and friends breaking down each game throughout the season for you. The journey to Banner 18. Welcome back to Humbly the Best Celtics podcast, home of the number one team in the NBA, the Boston Celtics. Let's go! The Celtics lost a tough one at home to the Denver Nuggets. The streak is over. The streak is over. Foot off the pedal. Time to rest some guys, Joel. The home cooking is ended. So now we are here. Celtics respond against Houston, and then a huge game last night against the Mavericks. We'll dive into that. Dive in a little bit of what happened today in the NBA. Some things starting to move. Maybe good, maybe bad for the Celtics. But talk about the Denver game. Obviously, stinks to see the home streak kind of end. Kind of talked about a little before. Joel said, it's kind of nice that we're really pushing on games, playing guys for a streak. One positive I thought about it was that I felt like it made us keep our foot on the pedal against teams that necessarily we've seen our Celtics teams in the past have kind of taken the foot off the pedal against, like the Pistons. Obviously, it wasn't an easy win, but just different teams under 500 that would come in and they kind of just catch you. But I felt like because of that streak, just gave us that extra push. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's about winning a championship. So yeah, I mean, for me, I think Porzingis said it the other day. Like their main focus right now is not losing two games in a row. It's finding why you lost that game and then responding the next game to that game. And I think this year, obviously, only losing two games in a row all year long. It's only happened once, and that was way early in the season. Trying to figure out how we fit Holiday and Porzingis. I think the team has just done a great job at responding, to losses this year. But I did want to catch the Nuggets. Obviously, many people say it could be your finals matchup. I don't think so, but they say so. Would have been a good game to win against Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, the one of the things that is just so hard to watch, and you saw it in that game, is like the third quarter stuff just will not go away. Never goes away, it feels like the way we come out of halves is sometimes so flat. Obviously, last night was a little bit of a different story against Dallas. They looked pretty good to start, and just kind of more like starting the fourth is when Dallas went on that run. But um, I mean, that Denver game is probably one. I mean, what do you guys think? Best game of the season so far? I mean, that was that
That was a
and
playoff.
that and that Minnesota game and the two Minnesota games. Um, I mean, that was as entertaining basketball as you can have.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's going to be tough to win on a night where both your stars don't show up. The good thing for the Celtics is usually pretty rare. And on top of that, you got a bunch of other great role players around them, like Derek White, who had a huge night. But it just shows in order to win, it's not about Drew Holiday and Derek White having big games, which Drew was really a no-show in that game to me. Brown and Tatum, 2 of 17 in that game. They've responded well after that, but you're not going to win games. And then I think we're still got to work on finding Porzingis shots. I mean, in that first half, absolutely cooking. I think he ended like 6 of 9 in the first half, and then the Celtics got him 2 shots all second half, and he was the hottest player on the court in the first half. And you only find him 2 shots in the second half. He was like, "Oh, it's fine." But it's like, I mean, you find him shots. I mean, what he's doing right now for us offensively, mid-range 3-point. I mean, it's a game changer, and you only find him 2 shots. But yeah, I mean, it's just going to be hard to win. You know, when their 2 stars showed up and ours didn't, essentially.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, and it takes
Jokic.
those stars to win games. I think this team will go as far as Brown and Tatum will take them. They have all the pieces around them to win a championship. At the end of the day, that last night in Dallas proved, like, dude, when those two guys are on, like it's scary. Like, and everyone else just kind of feeds off that. I mean, I think something last night too that, like, I think it was probably the second quarter when we started to hit threes, and it was just an avalanche from there. Like,
Yeah.
one person hitting a three, and then it just kind of lit that,
That,
and
that first
you
quarter,
know,
I was like, "Here we go again. We're not going to hit anything," and then
right.
it was just contagious. Yeah.
I think it was a Drew Holiday kind of bouncing
Yeah.
three, right? That, like, kind of got things rolling, and then from there. But I liked Tatum and Brown. Dallas is not a pushover team. But they attacked. I mean, they went right at, they found the mismatches. I thought they played smart basketball last night,
Mhm.
like smart, efficient basketball. And I was excited to see him get that W against Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, and that's so two things one thing you can separate the last two games in that game against Denver is that they were punishing mismatches and taking advantage of where they had a mismatch, and they just
Mhm.
didn't do that in the Denver game. Like
I
you,
thought, Joel, that was our best game. You know, we see all the time where we get like punished defensively and then people pick us apart and they get their center on our small lineup. That was the most I've ever seen Joe Mazzulla have an offense run where we attacked mismatches all night long. And
last night, you mean?
yeah, last night. That
Yeah.
was the best game I've seen, and probably under Joe Mazzulla that we continuously just absolutely wrecked him. I mean, Luca just he was stuck. I mean, what was he gonna do? And we
He's
just
at hell all night. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like we've seen us do it sometimes where it's like we go down the court twice and it works, but it was relentless all game long. Once we were like, hey, attack Kyrie with Tatum and Brown attack Luca. I mean, it was over. And we didn't lose that game plan. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, hey, we
Yeah.
got fourth and we lost that game plan. Like it was finally, hey, we're attacking and doing what we need to do to win this game.
It's really something we see KP do more than like
Yeah.
probably anyone else on the offensive end. And it was nice to see like when Tatum and Brown have that to use it. Cause I mean, like we said, Luka is he's an elite offensive creator. He's an elite offensive system all in himself, but he's just is a below average defender. And he's a disadvantage on that side of the court. So punishing him for that, and he was exhausted by the end of the game. So it was, I mean, he
Probably
still
from
got,
crying, though. You cry a lot like that, you get pretty
oh
tired.
my God,
And
dude.
all
I so hard to watch. I can't imagine having to watch him and Grant Williams every night. Could you imagine? That's
yeah.
all by
And how
itself.
glad after last night are you guys that we did not pay Grant Williams?
Dude, it just he doesn't look
Terrible.
like an like yeah, he
It's
played
what we've
absolutely
always said
terrible.
with Grant is where he never developed anything but the 3-and-D. I listened to a Jason Kidd interview before the Celtics game. Grant had talked and said before the game with I think it was Abby Chin for the Celtics that it's been a tough transition and it's just got to keep shooting and hope it starts falling. But Jason Kidd said, like, this is what we brought him in here for, was to play defense and hit a three ball. And that's not what he's doing now, and,
Yeah.
and it's been horrible. But that's always been the problem. He limited himself to be a 3-and-D player.
Is it fair to say that he got worse at Dallas?
Oh,
I mean, dude,
I
like
mean,
he at
well,
least like had some decent games and his defense was good. But dude, 18 minutes, 2 points
I
last
think
night. Like,
I think for him it's easier for him to fit in a system where there's like think about the level of defenders that he had around him anchoring him, and like, yeah, great. He did great on isolation possessions against Giannis here and there and whatever, but like he was flanked by Al or Rob as the other big, or if he was a small ball five, he was on the floor with Jalen and Jason and Derek White and Marcus Smart. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
a little easier to stick out as like being able to hold the floor with those guys when they're the ones helping you, and as opposed to you're trying to
Here,
stop dribble penetration past Kyrie and Luca.
here's a good one. Shows Brad's a smart guy, I guess. Sam Hauser and Grant Williams both average 8
I
points a
saw
game.
this, yeah.
Sam Hauser makes $2 million. Grant makes $13 million a year.
And
And
yeah,
Grant's averaging 8 a game was mostly in the beginning of the year. He would get in very heavy minutes, especially when Dallas was dealing with a lot of injuries and he was starting. That was their goal with him. Now he's on the bench, and obviously that average is just coming down. I'd say by the end of the year, Sam Hauser probably going to average more than Grant, and that's why Sam Hauser's contract
and
has so much value to have a
and
guy.
Grant's averaging 36% from three, so and Sam's above 40.
and
Yeah,
how many minutes is it compared?
yeah. Grant's getting 26. I know I'm not on Hauser's.
Yeah,
But
Hauser's got to be under 20, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe 20.
Let me pull it up. I'll tell you right now. Hauser's averaging 20 minutes a game. Spot on, Mike. 20.4.
He knows- only
Oh,
one he would know better than that.
and a much better discount too.
42% from three. That's a 10% increase.
Yeah.
No, I'm
That's
sorry.
wild.
Not 10%. That's not how percentages work.
And Hauser is just, I think, a better defender than Grant.
Yeah, I mean, Hauser's obviously defense has been great this year, and he's
Did people
much,
try to pick on him, and they just generally, I feel like he holds his own every time down. Like,
Better
yeah.
defender might
was
be
great.
like a stretch, but he fits the system just fine where he doesn't stick out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Grant
Where I
did
miss
get
where I miss Grant is like on a night where Jokic or an Embiid he helped with, a Giannis,
Yeah.
like he helped on those guys. You know what I mean? Obviously, you have a guy
He's
like Al,
quick,
but it was
yeah.
kind of insurance to have a guy like Grant. But at the end of the day, I'm not paying some guy $56 million just because I want to guard 3 different players. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where the contract, which just kind of got crazy. So wise drop by the Celtics, and then there's nothing better than beating Kyrie Irving. I will
I was
never get
about
over it. 0-9. I know you were waiting for it.
Love it.
0-9.
Yep.
Do not disrespect Lucky ever again like that. 0-9 against the Celtics. Can't beat us. He is absolutely cursed. That's who you get.
I mean, has he really been relevant since then either?
I mean, dude, he averages
Yeah,
like
yeah.
7 points a game.
I mean, like,
He's gonna-
he's like,
he'll make
but
the
he's
All-Star
like,
game, All-Star team after missing
I just
like
don't
a
feel like
month.
anyone talks about him right now, though. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
I
he's just
I think
not
there's
like
a part of the league that's just kind of sick of him. You know what I mean? It's just
right.
like
Like, I just
go to
feel
Dallas, do whatever. You know,
like they sent him to the G League.
it's crazy because he's just so like 27 points. His handles are insane. Some of the layups last night were just like, man,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
how he does
still
that. Crazy.
he's still an elite shot maker. Like it's just nice not to have to deal with all this crap that goes along with having him on your team.
I'll take
Like
pictures.
the impending doom that's coming, like that just black cloud that's on the horizon always. Because you never
Yeah.
know how long he's going to be reliable or good for. But I mean, the guy's still pretty much a 50, 40, 90 guy, so you can't really say too much about that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was a good win for the Celtics last night. You know, obviously the Rockets, we expected to beat them. But then you go into Dallas. Dallas has been good. Even the Rockets, you know, we say expected to beat them. They're great. They're like a total different home team. So to beat them there on the road was huge. Obviously responding from that Denver game for us. But the Rockets, if they just played at home, they'd be like a top 4 team in the NBA. So
Yeah.
responding and beating them at home, then going over to Dallas, taking care of business there. Then a big game Thursday. Mike said it's going to tell a lot about our team, how we can handle the Miami Heat on Thursday. Our schedule slows down. We played 11 games in 18 days, which is absolutely crazy. But now we hit 11 games. We have 11 games over the next 30 days. So the schedule slows down for us quite a bit, which is good. Obviously, you don't play till Thursday, which is good for some rest. Get over to Miami and have the guys kind of relax there. We'll be big. Expect the team hopefully to be at full strength. Porzingis, I'm sure, was just rest because we don't want to play him on back-to-backs at this point. I would be sitting him as much as possible with the lead we have on first place. So it'll be a big game. And the big news that dropped today, they pick up Scary Terry. Man, I'm going to be honest. I'll just start off with this. There's nothing that ticks me off more than that he always go after the Celtics players. It's like they just do it, so then they hope he's like really good, and then they can like post it on Twitter or something. It just drives me nuts. Like they always have to go for the Celtics players. You know, and then they're gonna like ride the Max Strus, Scary Terry. You know, they got Ray Allen, they had Kelly Olynyk. You know, it's just like always going after the Celtics guys. It's just like they do it to get in my head. I'm not gonna lie,
It works.
on my head today.
It
You know,
was every
that's my
time.
guy, Scary Terry. I didn't want to pay him that much. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even want him on the Celtics again right now. Too much
Is he
alcohol for me. But
he's an expiring, right? Like they have him for this year
I know
and
Lowry
next year.
was kind of part of the deal, but obviously they included a first in there to make that worth it for the Hornets. But you know, what do you think about? Obviously, they lose Lowry, pick up Scary Terry. What's kind of your thoughts of what do you think that does for the Heat?
I think it's massive. I personally think it's. I mean, Lowry's dude's always injured, slow, doesn't hit shots. I mean, you're getting a 20+ point night score in Rozier.
I
think
mean, I
that's the
feel like Lowry's
biggest-
best games were for the Heat were against us in the playoffs last year, and it's nowhere near that level this season.
Yeah, I feel like Rozier is just a massive. I mean, you're getting a guy who's much younger. Like again, he's been
I'll
around the
take
league
off
for a
the
while.
fandom
Like
for the Celtics for a minute. Like I do think it's a good pickup for them, but I'm not on the massive side. Kyle Lowry was great for them in the playoffs. He's a veteran. He's an NBA champion. Like
I don't
he
remember him
was
playing
big
that
for them in the
well.
playoffs. He always gave us fits. Like even on the defensive end, he gave us fits. Taking charges in the paint. We always had
Always
trouble.
hurting someone.
He's almost the reason. He's pretty much most of the reason. Obviously, Jimmy Butler as well. But how good was he in that Knicks series against the Knicks there to even get to us? You know, I just think I think he played a big role for them. He was boys of Butler. You already knew that worked. But I just think he had that chemistry. He had the NBA championship under his belt already. That experience. He's a veteran. Terry hasn't done much. Terry's been with the Hornets, who haven't been competitive. At the end of the day, yes, he averages 20-something points a game, but they have 10 wins on the year. I think 11 because they beat Minnesota last night. They're not a very good team. He gets to shoot as many shots pretty much as he wants every night, and that's going to be the problem. Butler, Hero, and Terry, they're going to want their shots, and who's going to get them? You don't have a guy like Lowry who was facilitating. Lowry would go games sometimes where he have a great night and he shot once all night because he was finding his guys. He was calling the plays. Terry wants the shots. Hence the reason he wasn't willing to sit behind Kyrie Irving and win a championship.
Yeah,
I
think
it's big. Like, I think for them offensively, yeah. I mean, now they have four guys that theoretically could hit 40, 20 every night. Bam, Butler, Hero, and Rozier. But I just think I do see there was a lot of value in Lowry for the Heat.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think he played that much.
Bench. The guy that came off the bench and gives you some nights he gives you 0, some nights he gives you 7. Occasionally he gets you double digits, but I just don't feel like he's.
I feel like Lowry at this point.
It was an amazing trade. If I'm a Heat fan, that's an amazing trade.
I'm for it, especially if I'm the Heat for the future. If you can keep Terry Rozier and really
it's not a partial guarantee.
I think what Pat Riley could or Eric Spoelstra could do with Rozier would be big. I always loved Rozier and his play and his heart, but I think of like Kyle Lowry for me. If I was like a Celtics, it's like Al Horford. He's that veteran. He's that glue in the locker room. He's got the chemistry. And Al Horford for me is completely.
Yeah, but
Celtics need Al Horford to win a championship in that.
Yeah, but the difference is you get good games more frequently out of Al Horford than you do, and you could compare even their
on Al Horford for points every night.
Yeah, but the thing is, they need points out of their guards. Like, they need more scoring.
I agree. I just think Lowry brought something to the table. Like, I do think it made them better. I'm not saying no to that. I think it's going to take adjustment. I think that's going to take a lot. Like, obviously, every championship's going to take sacrifice, but all those guys willing to take sacrifice. Hero to take less shots because Terry's going to be putting up 15 shots a game. Is Butler going to be okay with that? Is Bam going to be okay with that? I think there's a lot to go into. A guy like Rozier to come into it. I think
you also had a guy. I think Spoelstra is the perfect guy to manage all that, and he managed the big three in
the NBA. Yeah.
So
I agree. Obviously, he wanted it, obviously. But at the same time, I do think it was a better move for the Heat than trying to go for Dame and blowing up your whole roster, right? You were
100%.
A couple games away from the championship last year. Don't blow up your roster for a Dame Lillard like we just saw the Bucks do and lose a key guy like Drew Holiday. I would not have lost Hero for that. You'll lose Kyle Lowry, sure, for a Terry Rozier, not as good as Dame, but hey, it's definitely an improvement. It's something I think they had to shake up.
Yeah, and I think like their problem this year has been like their offense in the half court, and Terry's a guy that can create offense in the half court. So at this point in his career, as much as the intangibles as Lowry might have, like putting the basket in the hoop and getting points and creating good shots just isn't something that he can do really anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I think they definitely improved with it. Next move today comes out. The Bucks out of nowhere fires Adrian Griffin. I was like half shocked. Half shocked is like, man, a coach, second place. I think he got 13 losses on the year, and he just got the job, and he gets fired. Kind of did him dirty a little bit, I think, but obviously a pretty rough situation in Milwaukee. This one, I don't think there's any denying. I think it's big for the Boston Celtics. I don't think Adrian Griffin was a good coach, but to lose your coach mid-season like that and now have to bring in a new coach and everything that's going to be involved with that, I think was huge for the Celtics and really drops the Bucks down on my list of concerns for the Celtics for the playoffs. But I mean, what are you guys' thoughts there with the Bucks?
I think it reeks of panic.
Yeah.
I think that it just seems like they're panicking about something with their team, like just what they see behind the scenes, how they match up. Like, I mean, and let's not forget, they just had their biggest win in however long by beating the Celtics by 40 on the second night of a back-to-back. Like,
which totally discredits that game for me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so if you were feeling so good about yourself, why a week later do you fire your coach? I think the issues that they have though aren't aren't things that necessarily they're personnel issues, not necessarily coaching issues. Like how terrible their defense is, the fact that Dame and Giannis still can't play that great together. Like offensively, they put up a lot of points, but it just seems clunky at times. Like I don't know. I think it reeks of panic in that they're panicked that they are and they're turning the keys over to Giannis, like having him make all the decisions. Obviously, we
Yeah.
kind of knew that with the trade this offseason, but the fact that they hired this guy because Giannis wanted him over Nick Nurse, which is a report that came out earlier today, the fact they got rid of Bud in the first place, and now what did we?
Yeah.
40 games into 42 games, 43, whatever it is, into the next season, you're already firing a coach and you're off to a
Acting like LeBron now, yeah.
30-13
Yeah.
start. Like, what are we doing, man?
Yeah, and I wonder if it's part of it. His brother's still on the team, just taking up a roster spot. He's god awful. It's like yeah, you're wondering if like, dude, the guy's kind of like some drama. You saw a couple of instances like him going after that basketball and like him just like, I don't know, like I think
Throwing the
different times of
ladder
the
over.
year.
I don't know. There's some
I
red
thought
flags
I thought
starting to
the
peak up.
Budenholzer like fire came out of nowhere, and I was shocked by it. I thought that was Giannis's boy. Like you guys won a championship together. I was shocked by that. And then
Yeah.
Adrian Griffin came out of nowhere as the head coach. Like you said, like the Nick Nurse was on the market and guys like that at that point, which kind of came out of nowhere. But I think, yeah, I think two things. One, I'm with Joel where it's like reeks just panic. I think they're overreacting to everything. Like it goes back to like what Giannis said the other night with the whole like it was like half kidding where it's like everybody has to be better. Even the guy that washes the jerseys has to do better, right? And it's like I think you're like way overlooking everything. Like you've lost 13 games. You obviously do have some serious problems if you're going to win a championship. They barely beat the Pistons 2 games in a row. I mean that's pretty bad. But it's just like they obviously
Let's
have
not harp on that too long.
Well, if we played them the second time, we would have done better. but I do think Adrian Griffin had some serious problems. They brought in Terry Stotts, who I thought was a great coach. They bring him in as assistant coach. Dude walks off the job in training camp.
Dame's boy.
Yeah, Dame's boy. They get Dame, and it's like obviously Terry Stotts is just telling him, which it's been leaked. Like he's telling him, like you are not using Dame right, and doesn't agree. Kind of stuck to it, young stubborn guy. And doesn't take it well. Terry Stotts walks off, kind of respect, like, hey, am I going to do this all year long? Walks right off the job. So obviously there was already screaming issues. And then now he doesn't get the buy-in from Giannis. See you later. If there was anybody that you wanted to like you on the team, it was Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I think it definitely reached panic, but I do think Adrian Griffin was just an awful hire.
So do you think Rivers? I mean, Rivers seems to be the common like thing that I'm seeing. I think part of it is you need a veteran coach, right? You need someone that's going to come in and like kind of steady the ship a little bit because I don't think they can get any worse defensively. I mean, they're giving up insane numbers on every night on defense. I mean, they're obviously their offense is high powered, but I kind of think Rivers might be like a.
I don't know that how much of an upgrade it is because, like I said, I think that more of their problem, like especially defensively, is personnel problem. Like they don't have great wing defenders. Their best wing defender is Jay Crowder. Like when was he a good wing defender last? 4 years ago, 3 years ago?
Better still in the league.
Yeah, and well, he hardly plays, so that's part of it. The other issue, I mean, if Doc is a choice, like Doc was available this offseason, why didn't you just get him then? I think this shows signs in his red flags of a bigger. If I was a Bucks fan, like of bigger problems, like
there's definitely problems right now.
Yeah, like I mean, you're doing everything you can to keep Giannis, which I mean, I guess they really should do, because like, what's the other option? No one's signing in Milwaukee. That's just not the place that big time free agents go. They go to the Lakers.
Does Doc want to be a coach again? Right? We haven't heard from Doc Rivers, right? So we don't.
Nah, he did say earlier this year on like a podcast with KG and Paul Pierce that he wanted to coach again, and he said it on the Bill Simmons podcast too. So
one for a Celtics fan, not worried about that. Doc Rivers, we know how to handle him in the playoffs. Jason Tatum, 7. But what I would love, which would be kind of just funny, might actually help the Bucks, but as they bring back Terry Stotts as the head coach.
Yeah,
Bud's available. Job, Adrian Griffin's a joke. You're like, hey, maybe he knew what he was talking about. Hey, I think this guy knew what he was talking about and brings him on. But did he get the buy-in from Giannis? Obviously, Dame would push for it. That's his boy. So I think it would be interesting. I mean, there's not many. great
Do
options
they
out
bring
there.
Stotts on as a head coach?
That's what I mean.
Gotcha. Sorry, I
Because
blanked
he
out for
walked
a
off the job. He's not coaching anywhere right now. So he walked
Yeah, that
off.
would be
You bring
wild.
him on now, like he's a boy. You know,
I have an
he,
idea for a candidate, an NBA champion, defensive mastermind, put together good teams in more than one spots. How about Mike Budenholzer?
that is an option too. At this point, like it's like you get rid of something and then you're like, man, what I had was a lot better, you know?
It's like going back to the X.
Yeah, bring him back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Giannis is like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize how good you were for me. Yeah. I do think Terry Stotts could emerge as an option. But
All the reporting seems
right
to
now,
make it seem like it's kind of a done deal that it's Doc. And the funny thing is, Doc's been an advisor to Adrian Griffin over the first part of the season.
yeah. Yeah.
What
So
about
maybe
David Blatt?
I mean, doesn't this kind of remind you of that? Like
Yeah.
at that point, Cleveland was what, like the 1 seed or something like that, and then they fired him and hired Teron Lue,
this is the other guy that's
Yeah.
interesting is James Borrego, the Hornets coach.
Hornets old coach. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a decent option, but I don't know.
Mhm.
I think Stotts is legit an option, and Doc obviously is going to lead the way. You know, if you're the Bucks, but I do think this hurts the Bucks in a big way. I mean, there's no denying having to bring in a coach mid-season and then figure out and then that coach now has to navigate all the locker room issues and everything else that's going on in there right now. It's not going to be easy. So big for the Celtics today. I was pretty pumped when I saw that.
yeah.
It kind of eased my anger for Terry.
So, let me ask you this then, like based off of that, right? So there, I would say like Miami and Milwaukee are like kind of the main competition that we're going to be running into in the playoffs, or that we should be worried about. Who is it in the East that you guys are more nervous about, or if maybe it's a
You're
different
the most
team?
nervous about in the East. Go ahead, Mike. You can start.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the Heat. I mean, the Heat are just that team, that veteran team that every year,
The
kind
boogeyman.
of middle of the pack. I mean, last year, they were like a play-in team, right?
I think they were the 9th seed
Yeah, they were like, yeah, they got
or
in
the
at
8th
during
seed. Yeah.
and ended up going to the NBA championship, right? Like took us
Give me
this,
your top two, Mike. So you got Heat and who else?
Well, let's go through the same. So one, you have
Yeah,
Celtics, 2 Bucks, Sixers, Cavs, Knicks, Heat, and then you have the playing teams: Pacers, Magic, Bulls, Hawks.
I mean, Cavs are hot right now. Aren't they the hottest team in the NBA? Won 8 in a row.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I don't know if they really scare me, but
Like who's your
Donovan
top two
Mitchell-
that scare you? The Heat and who else?
I would probably say, I mean, depends who the Bucks get as a coach. I mean, they got a lot of talent over there.
Yeah.
Philly it's Philly. Like they just don't they don't have enough
It's
firepower. I feel like
crazy.
they're a
They
piece
could
of
be
weight,
undefeated,
man. Like
and I'm just not scared of them in the playoffs. It's just like
yeah,
every time we beat you guys, like even Embiid is just
the
like
Heat are like our big brother right now, though. Like until you punch him in the mouth, like that's why I think I'm really excited for this game. It's in their place on Thursday night.
already beat them
They
once.
seem to be healthy. Like
Yeah, and I think it's
yeah.
recency bias too. We lost them last year, but we beat them the year before that. So
Yeah, I agree. I agree. He
Yeah.
keep riding that like and we did beat them, you know, the year before. So
I just
so
have a bad taste from last year. Like
so he and who else?
I would
Bucks.
we need to worry
Yeah,
about not
probably
being
the-
able to play in again.
Yeah, I'd probably say the Bucks. I mean, we'll kind of see what these trades happen. I mean, I'm interested to see how the Pacers end up playing with Siakam.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a couple teams that when they make moves, I think will start
Yeah.
to move up the ladder a little bit. I
And-
mean, the Pacers aren't that far
I
away from
think the
being a good
Pacers are
team.
so easy to pick apart, like come like a series because you can't play defense.
They can't defend.
Offense
Yeah.
people, but that's how they catch teams, like on certain nights. But in series, I just feel like it's an issue. For me, I got like 3 teams that are just kind of like some more. So obviously the Heat, right? Like it's just the coaching for me. It's just like I love Joe Mazzulla. Don't get me wrong. I'm not on the
Mhm.
bandwagon like Joe can't coach. Like I think Joe's doing a phenomenal job. But
Yeah.
Eric Spoelstra's got years of experience on him at this point. I can only hope Joe Mazzulla will be half of what Eric Spoelstra is. And he's just a great coach. And he can just pick it apart. And obviously having a young coach does hurt us in that series. And then just the mental game of it being the Heat, you know, kind of stinks. The other 2 teams is definitely for me. I don't worry about the Bucks at all. I really don't. I do worry about the Sixers a little bit more than the Bucks, believe it or not, even though it's like we do beat them all the time. The other team for me, though, is going to be more so based on how they're doing at the end of the year, is the Knicks. And it's shocking because I always hate on the Knicks. But I just feel like they're that team that when they get hot, they're hot. And it's like hard to go win for the Celtics in a Madison Square Garden when they're rocking and they're all riding the Brunson Randall train and OG right now. So it's like, they're up and down. I think right now they're losing to the Nets. So it's like they're up and down. So it's just, how are they at that time of year? You know what I mean? It's like the famous, like the Kansas City Royals that year. It's just like, how am I know where you catch fire at the right time of the year? And I just feel like it's New York, Madison Square Garden, and when the Knicks are hot and they're riding that in Madison Square Garden, it's just not a place I want to be.
I think the issue with that though is you have to bank on Randall being good for 3 weeks,
For
and
sure.
that's like,
that's the problem.
yeah, that'd be a stretch for me. Like, one of the reasons I would pick probably Philadelphia first is because what they can do. They can make a move. Like, if someone comes available and they really want them,
Yes,
they can
100%.
make a move
Have
and really change their team on the fly. So,
And
and
I'll add this, Joel, to that. They've made good moves lately.
yeah, exactly. And like,
Oubre was great for them. What a good
Oubre was great for them. They got
pick up.
Batum like in that trade as a throw in,
Not bad.
and
Good
yeah.
pickup. Like, they've done a good job of pickups.
That really does make me nervous. And then of course, like, I think I would put the Heat and Bucks probably even, which is probably more of a compliment to the Heat than anyone else. Because who else can? I mean, Jimmy Butler's played what 27 games this year. Like, the amount of games he plays just keeps going down and down, and we can say what we want, but even in the 2 playoff series recently, he's missed games or been injured because of it. So like, that stuff just adds up year to year. Not, and again, it's not me hating on Jimmy Butler. Like, he's a great player when he's at the height of his powers, which always feels like it's in the playoffs. He's definitely like a top 10 guy in the league. Like, he is what he is, but at some, you can't outrun father time, and the beating that he takes just because of the way he plays with drawing fouls as the majority of where he scores, like, it just adds up after a while. So, but still, like, I don't want to see him in the playoffs. If we could run the playoffs and avoid them the whole time, I think I'd choose that over any other, like, over having to live the hell of playing them for 2.5 weeks in a row again. And then, I mean, like, the Cavs, I think, have a lot of potential, but I think their problems are what their problems are, right? They're playing the best that they have in the last 2 years, and it just so happens to coincide with when Garland's not playing. You know what I mean? So, like, the redundancy that they have with Mitchell and Garland is an issue that they haven't figured out, and I don't think it's something that's going to come to a natural resolution of them playing together. The natural resolution will be Mitchell going elsewhere.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be interesting. Right now the Heat are tied, could be a playing team just like that. Which is
yeah. I mean, think about it. Bam has missed time in the past. He goes out for a couple games. I mean, Bam's been their best player. Even when Jimmy Butler plays, Bam has been their best player. Mm-hmm. He goes down for 2 weeks. Like, they're in the play-in. Like, and Pacers come up. Magic.
That's what they did.
Play better. Yeah. So, I mean, who's
the annoying part? The balance. I'm with the Celtics at this point where we got to start thinking rest guys. At this point, you got 5 starters. I'd be okay with just starting. I mean, obviously you need chemistry, but start rotating them guys that rest. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum need to rest. I don't care what Tatum says. You watch your film from the finals 2 years ago, and you'll see why you need a rest. And it's important that he does. And we've seen the teams that have done that, and when it's done for them, obviously come the playoffs. Celtics got a tough stretch coming up. Heat on Thursday, must win. Right, Mike? Mm-hmm. Must win. Huge one. It's going to tell us a lot about the team. Excited for it. Then we go home. Doesn't get easier to end out January. Got the Clippers. I think that is the finals matchup right there. Clippers, I think, are the best, most filled team in the NBA on the West. Not in the NBA, but in the West. Just kind of have it all put together right now. And then the Pelicans, 25-18, and then home again against the Pacers. So will definitely be a good run for the Celtics.
When does the schedule get easier?
Yeah, I don't know, because we kept tweeting about the
Memphis?
schedule.
Yeah, it's like
we only have 10 games in February, so maybe that's what they're talking about.
It's like Los Angeles, Memphis, Atlanta, Washington, Miami again. Like, come on.
Yeah. It doesn't get easier. I don't know. Tatum made a joke a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure when the schedule gets easier, but the tweak keeps coming out. We get the easiest left, so it must just be stacked up at the end. hopefully that's where our players can get some rest finally. So got a tough stretch, but we'll say a lot. Big game on Thursday. Must win against the Heat. Let's beat the Heat. See you guys next week.